Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is your boy, the young lad Brit here. Now, we have got some fantastic news up for you today. I was very pleased to read this news. Of course, there are going to be a lot of intricacies to this news that we'll try to go through as deep as possible. As the news goes, it turns out that Vladimir Putin has signed a decree allowing foreigners who do not accept the moral policies of their countries to apply for temporary residence in Russia. This is fantastic news on the surface, and we should all be very pleased about that. Or people that do want to move to Russia because they're fed up of alphabet mafia woke policies in their own country now have an opportunity to get their foot in the door, basically. Now, of course, we are just going to quickly read through this and have a little chat about it. Now, it says here that to grant the right to apply for a temporary residence permit without considering the quota approved by the government of the Russian Federation and without the need to submit a document providing knowledge of the Russian language. So, in other words, in previous times, what you would usually need to do to get a temporary residence permit, firstly, it's usually difficult. Usually there's a quota system in place. For this, there won't be, from what I can see here. There's also this as well. You don't need to do the Russian language test. Now, of course, your boy James has been learning Russian for a very long time. Учебник. As you can see, it's still difficult for me, and but you know, as the days go on, I get better. But I tell you what, that test is not easy. If there's one thing that I would say, so the fact that you've got the opportunity not to do the Russian language test, you should learn Russian anyway if you come in here. Otherwise, you're going to live a very lonely life and you're going to be isolated to the expat community. And really, you want to have the broad experience, the broadest experience possible, and it opens doors when you speak the language of the country that you're in. So I still highly recommend that you do learn the Russian language if you are going to move here. Can you get by without it? Yes, with difficulty, because then you're relying on other people for the documents, and you're only ever going to have, say, English friends, American friends, Australian friends. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but at the same time, wouldn't you like to open up a world of opportunity in business and finance and all of these different sectors and places? I'm sure you would. Let's get back to the reading. So it says, understanding of the history of Russia. Now, yeah, so that means you don't need to do the Russian language test. You don't need to do the Russian history test. Reading on, to foreign citizens and stateless persons who wish to move to the Russian Federation for residence from foreign states of citizenship of permanent residence on the grounds of non-acceptance of the policies implemented by those states, which impose destructive neoliberal ideological principles that contradict traditional Russian spiritual and moral values as outlined in the foundations of state policy for the preservation and strengthening of traditional Russian spiritual first, and then moral values. Of course, again, this is excellent news to anybody that does want to move here, to anybody that doesn't want to raise their kid in a wokist country. Because you've got a bunch of these woke countries now, such as my own, such as the UK, where people just can't put up with it and people don't want to be there. So this is a perfect little way to get a foot in the door in a non-woke country that is just absolutely normal, which is fantastic, really. So it's nice to see that this is now available. Now, there are some caveats, like there are with anything in life, and I'll quickly go through those shortly. So the caveats, so usually, because I'm going through the permanent residence permit process as it is, okay, I'll tell you what I went through. Now, I'm not a solicitor, so I can't, of course, advise you on anything legal. I'm just telling you what my experience is. My experience has been so far, well, I've needed a ACRO report from the United Kingdom, which takes around about a month to prepare. It's a crime certificate, a specific one. That then needs to be sent to the legislation office in the United Kingdom. That took me about 7 days to obtain. So far, we've spent about £100 doing that, and I then needed to get it transported, which is possible, but more expensive than usual, across the Russian border to my hands. I then needed to submit that to the solicitor. I also needed medical checks, so that's my criminal background check, medical checks, and it's quite a comprehensive one. And I needed to submit all that to, my solicitor needed to submit all that basically. So yeah, there's a bunch of documents that you are going to need, of course, but however, you're not going to need the Russian language test by the looks of it. You're not going to need the history test. So what do we know so far? That's what we know. Now, in terms of the countries that have been listed, there are actually none. So at this present moment in time, it's simply a decree. Don't jump for joy too soon, is what I would say. But however, based on reading between the lines where it says neoliberal policies, the question you need to ask yourself is your country neoliberal? I.e., is it a Western country, is what you read there. However, we don't want to speak too soon. However, there is probably, it's most likely that the lists of countries that are going to be developed are going to be the Western ones, okay? The ones going woke, or the ones that have hit peak woke, or the ones that are just getting woker and woker, they will be the countries that will, of course, be on that list. But we will see, okay, however the decree is signed. Point being, now a traditional family or a traditional guy who's only ever done good for his country can now move, if they're fed up of all the wokeism and all of the neoliberalism, if they're fed up, it's just been made one step easier for you to be able to, again, get your foot in the door and come over and live in Russia if that's what you want to do. So this is excellent news, in my opinion. This is fantastic news, and we should all be very delighted that such news has been released. I'm certainly delighted. I think that whoever takes this up when it's ready to be taken up is a lucky son of a gun. That's what I will say, because yeah, for me it's been hell, if I'm honest, trying to get a permanent residency permit. Well, I wouldn't describe it as quite hell, but I tell you what, it's certainly been no walk in the park for me whatsoever. So if you're a squeaky clean guy and you want to just raise your kids in a family-friendly environment, this could be the place for you then. And, you know, I think the government have recognised it. That's why they've introduced this law. So this is, all in all, fantastic news. I'm delighted by it. I welcome it. Now, there are a couple of caveats that I must say. There is also the fact that also when you do get a residency, when you apply for a residency permit, you cannot leave the country. I think it's up to 6 months until you actually get the permit, because you know, whilst your application's going through, you've got to stay here. So you know what I would recommend, realistically, is to basically come, see if you like it and see if this is for you. Because if there's one thing I will say, Russia's not for everybody. Just because I love it doesn't mean everybody does. Okay, so you want to make sure, because this is a serious decision. If this is what you want to do, then here's a foot in the door for you at the very best. So, you know, keep an eye on this. I'm going to keep up to date with this news, and I'm also going to post more on it when I know a little bit more about this news. However, this is great news for anybody who does want to move to Russia. Anyway, we're going to call it a wrap there. Please do like and subscribe. My Telegram channel is in the description, where you can actually find out a little bit more about this news if needs be. I will also be updating this on my Telegram channel. So guys, I'll see you in the next one. Take care now.